So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you guys are. Guys, smash the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button, share the video as always, guys. And yeah, let's get straight into this video. So guys, Saul Canelo Alvarez has said that you guys saw my performance against Dmitry Bivol. I was beating him after 5 rounds. And I got tired. So Canelo Alvarez blamed fatigue on his loss. Now, we know that Canelo's had a stamina issue for a pretty long time. He's now even come out and admitted, well, not admitted it, but he said the reason for his loss was the fatigue. There was reports that Canelo Alvarez was sick prior to the fight. I think Robert Garcia mentioned it. And many others, I think, have kind of suggested it. He also suggested, he said, he didn't say he was sick, but he said there was a lot of issues prior to camp. This isn't going to sit well with fans because Canelo Alvarez is somebody that a lot of fight fans thinks that he's been given a lot of gifts. And people were looking for an opportunity for, for him to lose, and they can pounce on him, and they got that with the Bivol fight. May have been sick. He may have been sick, but I know Canelo's had issues in the past where Canelo actually in the Liam Smith fight actually had a broken hand and he still won. Canelo must have had issues in the past as well where he's probably not been 100%. But when someone loses, there's always excuses that come out. Now, what was more worrying was the fact that Canelo was saying that he was beating Bivol after 5 rounds and then he got tired. That's not the reason he lost that fight, because he got tired. Canelo Alvarez always at times look fatigued in his fight. He looks like heavy, like he looks like he's fatiguing in fights. He does sometimes give that impression, but I don't ever look at Canelo and think that, he always finds a way to get through it. He always finds a way to get through and win the fight. It was a bit, for him to blame fatigue, I do think there's an issue there with stamina, especially him moving up weight class. I think that, he was blowing a little bit, and I think Bivol had the kind of power, and Bivol wasn't allowing him to rest when he wanted to rest, because Canelo has a habit. He likes to rest when he, gets his shots off and then likes to rest, have his spurts. And then, Bivol wasn't allowing him to rest. He was jumping on him. He also hit harder than what people give Bivol credit for. And I think he was troubling Canelo in that fight. So Canelo was definitely having a lot of issues in that fight. He wasn't able to control the pace as well. So he did fatigue, but I don't think that was the reason. I think Bivol's style, his footwork, his ability to keep the fight at distance, using his physical advantages very well, I think those things combined made a very difficult fight for Canelo Alvarez. It didn't look like to me on the outside. Now, obviously, I wasn't there. I'm not Canelo. I'm not inside his body. I don't know what he's feeling. I don't know what camp was like. But it didn't look like, from actually watching the fight, that it was fatigue that lost the fight. And the fact that he thinks he was winning the fight after 5 rounds, I can't remember after 5 I don't think he was winning. I don't think there was any point in the fight where he was actually winning the fight. I think Bivol was having quite a lot of success from the get-go. I don't know what the judges had it. Apparently, I think the judges might have had him ahead or whatever. But yeah, I definitely didn't have him ahead after 5 rounds. And the way he made it sound like he was beating Bivol so comfortably after 5 rounds, that wasn't the case. He's basically thinking that after 5 rounds, he blew a gasket and basically he just fatigued, and that's why Bivol was able to take over. I don't think so. I think Bivol from the get-go was pretty dominant. I think his style was giving Canelo a lot of issues right from the get-go. It wasn't like Canelo started off really fast and Canelo was dominating from at the start and then he deteriorated. No. Bivol was actually on top early on in the fight. I think Canelo might have won the first, but then after that, I think Bivol won the next couple. I can't remember now. It was a while back, but I know that Bivol was having success from early on. And it wasn't like Canelo was dominating after 5. I think he might have even been down, maybe on the DAZN scorecard, on my scorecard, possibly he was down. I can't remember what I had it at the time, but I think Bivol was doing pretty well up until 5 rounds. And it was actually at that point, after 5 or 6 rounds, is when we and my brother started discussing that Bivol can win this fight. You know, people actually started believing that Bivol could win this. So, yeah, the point of Canelo thinking that he was dominating or dictating the pace or winning the fight after 5, I don't think is true. I think he said he did watch the fight back. You know, certain fighters, you know, fighters like Canelo Alvarez, and this is what I've said before, guys that are used to success, they don't take defeat very well, you know, generally. You know, you look at Deontay Wilder, you look at many fighters that are undefeated for a very long time, they don't take defeat very well. You know, Klitschko was the same. Not necessarily Klitschko made excuses, but he was hurting badly after the fight. And yeah, fighters that are dominant have been dominating for a very long time, and they lose, they don't take it very well. You know, and that's just because of the competitive nature. There's always, they look for an excuse because they in their mind think that we're unbeatable. There's no way someone can beat us. Right? So Canelo's in his head thinking, yeah, the reason why I lost the fight is because I was sick. I was sick before the fight. My stamina went, and that's why he won. Rather than actually saying, well, that guy's style was a problem for me. Because a fighter will never say that. A fighter will never say that his style was a problem for me. You know, no fighter's going to say that, because you're basically saying that, you know, you've got weaknesses. So no fighter's going to come out and openly say, yeah, well, his style was wrong. So I can understand Canelo not saying that. But yeah, I think as long as Canelo says that to the media, and he knows in his heart of hearts that when he goes back and sits down with Reynoso and they have you know, an honest discussion with each other, they come to terms that, okay, you know, his style is difficult for you. How are we going to devise a game plan in order to overcome this guy's style? Because it wasn't your fatigue, it was the fact that you couldn't adjust to his style. You know, and that's what it was. Bivol's style for Canelo was horrible. Canelo didn't know what to do. He was confused because whatever he tried to do, he couldn't get to him. The Bivol was too strong, too big. He was able to absorb Canelo's shots, and he was also hitting Canelo a lot. Canelo wasn't able to avoid. I felt like Canelo at times was on the ropes and he was taking punishment. He looked heavy, leggy, looked fatigued, and Canelo's going to have to come up with a game plan. And in my opinion, the game plan's probably going to have to be throw more shots. Be more active. Try to outwork that guy. You know, and in order to do that, he's got to come in light. He's got to be more active. You know, but Canelo's doesn't... Again, the reason why if he was to be able to do something like that, I would be impressed, because Canelo's not really shown me he does that a lot. Early on at maybe middleweight, he was, you know, maybe against Jacobs, he did throw a bit more punches, but he's got to throw a lot of punches. But can he do that at a higher weight class where, you know, it's not his natural weight? The guys are bigger, the guys are hitting him with harder shots. They're also a lot taller, and they know, and they're also very skilled. They're very highly skilled amateurs as well. So they're not guys like, you know, the guys that he's been fighting at 168 who have flaws, who aren't the most decorated amateurs, who aren't the best boxers. You know, Callum Smith, Billy Joe, these are okay. But these are guys that can be gotten to. These guys don't have deep amateur backgrounds. Guys like Dmitry Bivol, Arthur Beterbiev, these are guys with deep amateur backgrounds, and they're very technically sound fighters. They're very technically good fighters. So when there's a fighter that's got such a huge weight and height disparity over you, and then they're so technically good as well, the technique is very good, they're technically very sound, for the smaller guys, very hard to win. Especially Canelo is, although Canelo's a great fighter, and I do think he's pretty versatile, I do think Canelo has got flaws. I think his footwork, you know, is pretty slow. Although now he's improved that and his footwork has become more educated, I still think against somebody as very highly skilled, with good footwork, with height, range and all of that, I think Canelo would struggle. I think his footwork has become good to a point where he can beat the world-class fighters that are bigger than him, but the real elite fighters at the top. And that's why I wouldn't pick him against Bivol again, because I think you can never write Canelo off, because, you know, Canelo is a great fighter. But at the same time, you've got to understand that Canelo hasn't been fighting guys like Bivol. That's what we've got to understand. Canelo, like, Bivol is his best opponent, probably since Mayweather. Technically, like, Bivol is that good. Golovkin is a pressure fighter. This guy is a technical boxer who is far better than anyone. Like Canelo, people say Canelo struggles with boxers, right? This is the best boxer he's faced since Mayweather, without question. And not just adding the size as well. So it's not the fact that, you know, Lara was a good boxer, but Lara was small. You know, this guy's big. He's tall. He's rangy. And he's a very, like, he's got a very deep amateur background, and he's good. So that, when you combine all of that together, it makes Bivol a very hard proposition for Canelo. Because Bivol, it doesn't go in there. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You see, the better be a fight, although people think I'm crazy when I say, I think Canelo has got a better chance, but it's a dangerous fight and Canelo could get wiped out completely. Better Biev has the kind of power to wipe Canelo out, but Better Biev would take more chances, which would mean that Canelo would be able to land more shots. And that in itself makes the fight more interesting. But Canelo's got to be more wary in that fight because Better Biev has the kind of power that can wipe him out. So that makes that fight interesting. But the Bivol fight, Bivol is so consistent. He does the same things over and over again. And he's just so consistent. His footwork is so good. He's got very good hand speed. He gets in and out of range very quickly. He uses height very well. And his footwork is phenomenal. So he's just a difficult fight for Canelo. It's not the fact that Canelo can't beat. It's just a difficult fight for Canelo. That's it. It's just a difficult, hard style matchup for Canelo. And Canelo would struggle against him because he's just a difficult fight for Canelo. You know, and that's why I think even if they fight again, I think it's going to be difficult. Canelo's not blowing this guy out the water. It's not like Canelo's going to rematch this guy and Canelo's going to put everything right. Even in the second fight, even though if Canelo will win, it'll be close. It may even be controversial. Or I don't see how Canelo can out just completely wash this guy. I think Bivol is too good a fighter. He's too good. So for me, I don't think it. Look, I do think that if he was sick, I do think it could have had an impact. It could have had an effect. But I don't think that was the reason. I think Bivol's style, because Canelo showed me in the fight where Canelo was having his moments. It was just that Bivol was just able to absorb those shots, and Bivol was coming back, and he was kind of frustrating Canelo because firstly, it wasn't as easy to hit him. Although Canelo did get to him at certain points, but he was making Canelo miss at times. And also when Canelo's used to making guys miss, this guy wasn't missing a lot. He was landing a lot of shots when he threw him. So, you know, Canelo just found his style very tough. And that's why a lot of people don't think that Canelo will win the second fight. But that always happens. I don't think it's an extreme. I think Canelo is capable of winning the fight against Bivol. I don't think it's a point where people are saying, oh, he's got no chance. I hate it when people do that. People are doing that with Anthony Joshua. Even though I was one that, the reason why I don't give Joshua, I just think Usyk is a better fighter. People may think Bivol's a better fighter than Canelo. I'm not so sure about that. I think the reason why Bivol is having a lot of success because he knows how to use his size. See, a lot of you say, well, no, Bivol's just a better fighter because all the other guys were bigger. No. Bivol is a better fighter than those guys. But the fact that he's bigger, the fact that Canelo was able to beat the other bigger guys is irrelevant. The point is the fact that Bivol's size and height and all of that plays an advantage because Bivol knows how to use that. So it's got nothing to do with that Bivol is just better. That's rubbish. Of course, the size of Bivol makes a big difference. Now, if the other bigger guys and Canelo's fought other bigger guys, if they don't know how to use their size and Canelo's able to get to him, that's their issue. That's because they're not as technically as good as Bivol. But if you shrink Bivol down to Canelo's size, he won't have the same kind of success. Also, will he be able to absorb the shots that Canelo lands on him as well? You see, these are all things that you have to take into consideration, which I think people just look to dismiss. When you're fighting a guy that's way bigger, that's very technically good and skilled, it's very hard. It's not easy. You know, it's not easy just to go in there and blatter him and blitz him away. That does not how boxing works. So, yeah, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Leave your thoughts. Canelo was apparently sick. Apparently, you know, Canelo says that it was his stamina was the reason why he lost. What do you guys think is the reason? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.